That's really, really exciting stuff. I mean, we've really taken this data and we have moved it from the operations, from the design side through construction and now into operations and maintenance. So let's just do a quick recap here of what we saw and how the pieces come together. You know, again, using that same timeline that we had, the post-design through operations and maintenance. Here's how the different tools come into play, where we have Revit. There are 40 to 60 models. And in this case here, we're showing BIM 360 field tools being used to capture the construction data and incorporating that data back into the as-built models. ModelStream then connects those two worlds and allows us to bring the data over into the operations and maintenance side in Maximo. And then we have the feedback loop through ModelStream that allows us to do the performance monitoring and analysis. Areas, when before we had the as-built models and the operations and maintenance separated, now we've been able to bring them together. And again, thinking back to that earlier slide where we had all the manual data entry, we've solved a lot of those problems with manual data entry. Now we're seamlessly moving the data electronically from phase to phase. So let's just take a quick look at some of the real-world scenarios that we have and how the software has been used. So we have new construction here for the Goethals Bridge. And again, going to my earlier story, this is the project that I was referring to, where we put the contract language into it. And what we have is we did for the project was we did the analysis of the design model. We implemented the structural member naming, which is called unique element identifiers. So every structural member on the bridge has an element identifier. We migrated all those structural assets into Maximo using ModelStream. We implemented ModelStream in 3 environments, and then we implemented the model viewer in Maximo. And in total, it was 4 weeks. And in reality, the ModelStream implementation and the migration of the assets was during the last week of the project. So we've taken that 12 to 18 month timeline that we had before, and we've collapsed it down into 1 month, and even less than that, 1 week, which is a huge, huge improvement. So now, as this facility becomes operational, the operations and maintenance staff have the information at their fingertips and available to them starting on day 1. Another scenario is renovation work. Okay, different from new construction. With Denver International Airport, ModelStream synchronizes the real-world conditions. What they'll do is they'll extract the model from the master facility model. They hand that off to the design team, who then performs their work. They do their construction and their renovation work. The model is then integrated back into the facility model, and then ModelStream is used to push the updates into Maximo, giving them all the new assets, giving them all the new information about the area that was just renovated. So what's the goal here? What's the end state that we're looking at? As-built models now become the record model. It's now relevant for the life of the facility. So whereas before you had as-built models that were a snapshot in time, now they get to stay current for the entire life of the facility. That record model now is kept up to date with ModelStream. The facilities and maintenance staff, they get a visualization tool embedded within Maximo. They get the work area verification. They get that assets and context, which allows them to see not only am I working on a VAV, but what systems are connected to it, what's the piping that's connected to it, where are the electrical components to this. I get to see all that information right within my maintenance management system, and I get to see the 3D view of that to put it all into context. So in the end is a record model that's dynamically connected to your enterprise asset management system. And the result of putting all these pieces together is a proven net 5% savings on operations. So ModelStream, which was once thought to be the future, is now. It's real, it's deployed, it's working with any sector, universities, water, wastewater, medical, pharmaceuticals, any industry that you're in where you have Revit models, Maximo systems, we can connect the two with Maximo. So with that, I thank you for your time today, And I'll turn it back over to Brittany.
Great, thank you. At this point, we'll open it up to the audience. Remember, if you do have a question, please type it into the webinar toolbar to the right of your screen. And I already see that we have quite a few, so I'm just going to get started. Will you be developing ModelStream for Tririga?
That's a great question. So we're actively working with clients that have Tririga and clients that have Tririga and Maximo to evaluate how how the data moves between the various systems. And so we're actively investigating that that path for us.
And can you tell us what the development schedule is?
Not at this time, but if you send us your contact information, we can keep you posted on how we're progressing with that.
Okay, and at what point do you start populating the data into ModelStream?
So ModelStream is the bridge that brings the data over from your Revit model into Maximo. So during the construction process or even the design process, you're capturing information all along about the assets. So there isn't a set period in time when you're doing necessarily data entry. It's trying to we're setting up a framework where you can capture the information at every stage of development, and then we move that data across into your Maximo environment. Now I will say that if you have an existing system, so as Brandon was showing you that we have the ability to take a new Revit model with an existing Maximo system, you can have the data entered in Maximo. So as a part of like field work or maintenance operations, they can update the information, and then we can bring that data back into the Revit model as well.
And if my client wants to use Maximo to manage their building, will they need a license of Revit, or can they connect to a model that I keep for them?
So just like we showed here, if you have Revit, you can connect to a remote Maximo system. So I guess to answer your question is that the owner would not necessarily have to have Revit, or be Revit savvy in order to use ModelStream. They would have their system, they would have their maintenance system in place, and then we could set it up so that you could remotely connect to that system.
Okay.
We've had active conversations with customers about setting up that scenario.
Can the Maximo integration just read the Omni class to get the mappings correct?
Can it just read the Omni class to get the mappings? So we are, I guess the short answer to that is that we are standards agnostic. So if you're using the Omni class, if you're using Uniformat, if you're using Kobe, we'll allow you to map all that data over to your Maximo environment. And right now we don't have an automated mapping system, but we've tried to make the mapping as seamless and easy as possible for you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, like George said, I mean, the mapping is pretty straightforward, and the way the data gets stored, I mean, it's in XML format, so it can be manipulated further in, externally if needed. So, I mean, you could always automate some of those mappings, but generally the mapping through ModelStream is pretty quick.
And here's another good one. What happens if two people are editing the same asset with different information and one exports and one imports? What conflict resolution is there?
Well, some of that depends on the way the Maximo system is set up. There's different ways you can have it set up in terms of the record locking in Maximo. So it would be dependent on that to some extent. But if you have two people that are actively synchronizing the model at the same time. I mean, it would be whatever is the latest. I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be the recommended way to use ModelStream. I mean, generally you wouldn't be having the same models and the same assets being updated from different people.
And is there any way to schedule changes like this instead of someone having to click import or export to get the results to move back and forth?
Right now, no. There isn't a scheduling component to this, and we've had customers ask about that. But at the same time, we've had customers that say, no, we don't want to schedule. We want to know that we are updating information, and we want the asset management team to know that we're updating information, and not have it be have just changes appearing. So we've resisted doing a scheduling component to the software, but it has been asked from us, so we could revisit that.
Okay, and then I have on the beginning slides, George, someone wants to know where you got the 5% savings from.
So we had done an extensive study with a client, a healthcare client on the West Coast, where we went through numerous use cases, tested out the BIM to asset management process, and worked with their facilities and maintenance operations staff, and we through a long study with them, we came up with the 5% savings on operations, which will hopefully will be publishing as a paper within the next couple of months.
And does Maximo or ModelStream track changes with change logs?
Yes, so everything is tracked. ModelStream has its own log that's created, and we also recommend using the Maximo e-audit capabilities, so you can track everything that's changed in Maximo as well. But yes, between those two it is.
All right. Are ModelStream connections and configurations shareable amongst multiple Revit ModelStream users?
Yes, so I mean, I'm assuming that question is if the Revit models are like in a network location. Yeah, I mean, the configuration file kind of sits alongside the Revit model, but you could either share it that way on the network, or you could share it just by sending it to someone to use the same configuration.
How much of the information added to Maximo do you see facility operators using post-construction?
State the question again, and quite. I can't read the questions here, so I apologize.
So how much of the information do facility operators use post-construction? The Revit model information.
So there's quite a bit of the information that they will use. You know, when you look at the core set of information that they want to have, that's all the information around the make, model, manufacturer, the warranty, the extended warranty, all the procurement information, purchase orders, and so forth that they need. So that's sort of the core pieces of information that they want. And then when you move outside of the asset itself, then they want to start to know about, like, what's the type of piping that's connecting to this device? What system does it belong to? So, you know, typically that information has been learned on the job and gathered through in the very beginning stages of their work. So the short answer to your question is a lot of the information is. You know, you can't put your finger on exactly, like, you know, you need these 5 pieces of information in Revit, but there's quite a bit of the information that they want to have access to and that they do use on a regular basis.
All right, we'll only be able to answer just a few more questions, so I'm going to take 3 more, okay? So where is the ModelStream configuration information stored? In the Revit model or in Maximo?
So the ModelStream configuration isn't actually stored directly in either system. It's a separate configuration file that gets created alongside the Revit model.
And Brandon, this is for you. When you said you get these by the web version of Revit, what did you mean by that?
I was referring to, so the web model, as I had mentioned, or the GL compatible format of the model is using the Autodesk large model viewer, and when you translate the Revit model into that WebGL format, you get the Revit properties with it, and that's what I was referring to.
Okay, and last one, I just want to make sure it's a good one here. Hold on 1 second. Is the data visually presented as well, like ability to click on a floor plan and data for equipment or room pop-up?
Well, depending on what that question really means. I mean, yes, I think we touched on some of that. The 3D viewer provides a lot of different ways to drill down to the data, and if you combine that with the location hierarchy in Maximo, you can drill down into specific locations, and then you can view assets that are in those locations. So there's a lot of different ways you can drill down between Maximo and the viewer. So depending on exactly what you're looking to get out of that, I think the answer is yes, but we'd have to get some more details.